Hello, welcome to Soulprint Insights. Today I'm going to do, in fact, this week, I'm going to do two channeled messages. I think it's time to take a look at what we've learned, you know, what the last 4 years taught us. And I'm not really talking so much about politically as I'm talking about us, what we learned about us and where our priorities shifted and what going forward looks like, particularly for so many of the light workers who, of course, have been kind of activated and things are becoming clearer and easier. So that's what we're all about today. So I'm going to reach out and I'm going to ask Masudius if they can please join us. And I would like to channel what has the Donald Trump era, what has the COVID era, what has this new decade taught us. Where do we go from here, and what do we bring from the past? Hello, Soulprint family. It's so lovely to have the opportunity to chat with you and visit with you again. And it's a really important question that has been asked at this time because it's absolutely true that things are going to be different than they have been before. You know, it is said that you can never step into the same river twice. And so it also is with life. So certainly the last year in particular, since the disease known as COVID has started and ultimately end up traveling the globe and circling the globe and creating environments and situations for many, many people that were simply sort of not what they were used to dealing with. So one of the things that the last year in particular has brought is an awareness of, in many ways, how fragile life can be and how things that were supposed to be or should be or anticipated, how they can change so quickly and in many cases permanently. This is also, now before we delve into that, I do want to say that the COVID situation has allowed many souls who were ready to leave or wanting to leave the ability to do that. Now, I don't want that interpreted, or we don't want that interpreted as, well, if they were, ready to die, that's why they got sick and so they just left. That's not the intention of what we're saying. What we're saying is that as the energy shifts on the earth, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, you have people who were no longer comfortable functioning at those shifting vibrations. And that's okay. Some of them chose, on whatever level that we may not, or you may not understand on the human level, chose to end their life in a way so that more research or understanding or development could happen as a result. So that, that you see that influx of people in the hospitals where, they can do more monitoring, understand, get more clarity. But in an individual one-on-one basis, it has created an environment for every individual soul to take stock, to figure out what in their world, what in their life is actually really important and where they want to spend their time. Very often, inhabitants of the earth have a, well, we'll get to it attitude. So, yes, I'm going to have my family and I'm going to have my career, and we're going to get to enjoying the family or taking vacations or having get-togethers somewhere down the road. I'm going to, not go back to school because I can always do that later on down the road to actually follow the dream that I've had. So everybody has some of those in their life. And it's not to say that every single thing should just all of a sudden then be done right in the here and now because you don't know what tomorrow brings. But what it does do is it clarifies exactly that, we don't know what tomorrow brings. And so it makes simply being more connected to yourself so that you can understand the messages that your subconscious is sending to your consciousness, that your solar plexus, your gut, is sending to your heart and your mind, so that there is sort of a closer connection, a closer understanding of when something should maybe be given priority, certainly through the new lenses that you have been forced to look at life through. Um, you know, this has been a year of a tremendous amount of grief and loss all over the planet. It is global. It is not exclusive to one country or one area. And there, of course, are injustices in terms of people receiving helpful treatment or good treatment or vaccines. We understand that. But the question is, how does that impact and affect us? So, one of the other things that has happened is there is a better awareness now than there was before in terms of injustices, and whether those injustices are racial or economic or any other number of barometers. There has been a heightened sense of awareness that things that maybe were not on your radar, whether that was, again, racial inequities or immigration issues, whatever it is, maybe it's just the kind of care people receive in some of those senior homes. Maybe it's realizing that the resources of a country are not infinite, and realizing that because of that, nor are your resources infinite. And so perhaps there is a time to pare down or streamline for some. For others, it is a time of expansion, realizing that there's never a perfect time. So therefore, if it can be made to work now and it feels right, this is the time. This last year has given people the opportunity in a very profound way to really connect with their inner self and their higher self. Often that quiet, that enclosed or enforced isolation created opportunities where people were able to finally slow down enough to hear their own thoughts. Perhaps areas that you never really thought of before, whether it's certain charities or the way certain corporations or companies or charities work. So this past year, as you move through 2021, is going to be about clear vision. It's going to be about seeing what was unseen before, understanding what was not understood before. As your planet finds itself in this precarious situation where the health of the planet is deteriorating so rapidly, on some level, you should have an awareness that the potential for these kinds of viruses or pandemic does not decrease, it increases. And so there's an awareness that there are things that simply need to be fixed, because if they're not fixed, the next time around, frankly, could be even worse. It could be even more disastrous. So there's a great deal of clear-eyed sort of soul searching that has been the result. Now, and not for everybody. Some, you've got those first responders, people in hospitals, people who, serve the community. They have been even more busy. But again, it is that extreme that allows for those moments of real clarity in terms of where energy is being spent. The fact that to one degree or another, most people have had to figure out how to live with that sort of sense of fear or anxiety and yet still be productive and creative and moving forward has also had an important and beneficial impact on people. It is as if the very things that were believed stable or secure, not only tangibly, but energetically, have all been or are being reevaluated. As this energy shift continues, and let us say, a great deal of very, very hard work was done and accomplished in the United States, to shift the energy from a very toxic and corrupt focus. People worked very, very hard to bring back a more balanced, compassionate, efficient energy. And as that continues to roll out, the energy will continue to shift and change. So that hill has been climbed. You got through that really, really difficult challenge. And again, it took a global village to manifest and make that come together and happen. And while there were specific communities that really surged to the fore and really helped bring about that kind of change energetically, it was supported like globally. But as now that energy is moving away from that third dimension energy and starting to shift into the fourth, where people are simply more mindful, they're more inclusive, they're starting to connect with their own intuitions, their own sixth sense talents, their own artistic talents. They are starting to connect closer and closer to not living their life purpose, because most are doing that, but certainly recognizing, identifying a life purpose or one of them, and being able to figure out what can or cannot be done to enhance that or to move that forward in an even more positive way. The veil is thinning, and there's going to be so much more information and access that there's going to be insights, recognitions, paths forward that prior to now were unthought of. And that, of course, brings about continued expansion. And so that is the goal and the direction as this year unfolds and leads to the next. As the energies increase, so too do your awarenesses, your understandings, your goals, those things that you decide you do or don't want to put energy into. All of that is undergoing a shift. But it has now energetically moved into a shift that does not feel quite so panicked as much as it feels these are just important things to look at, things to address. And so the earth is entering a very exciting time of growth and forward motion. And as soul workers, as light workers, as earth angels, as healers, your skills and talents will continue to develop, evolve, and make themselves known. And because as that is happening, there is that sort of simultaneous reconnection going on, or heightened connections. The two are going to find integration, a smoother path forward than have been seen to date. So much has been accomplished. It's what happens when a lot of energy gets focused on a lot of situations or on a situation, and allows that the energy to sort of create critical mass, which allows that surge of shift and change. But yet there is much more work to be done. And so above all else, it is very important that each individual soul remembers to take the time to care and nurture and love themselves, because you cannot allow yourself to become depleted, because there is a lot of work still to do. And for many, many, many of you, it's really why you're here. There are things you chose to witness, and you are now witnessing them. Thank you ever so much for once again listening to our words and giving them consideration. We're very, very grateful for the family and the community that has been created here at Soulprint. And we once again wish you to know the gratitude we feel for being able to do that. At this time, we remain Masudius. Okay, so there you have that. A lot there, a lot to unpack. And we'll see where the next one takes us. Between now and then, stand in your power and stand in your light. Bye-bye.